County. You can see the line of storms, all containing at least the potential for severe weather. That's denoted by the large severe thunderstorm warning box. But embedded in this line, we have some circulation, and that's showing up with the tornado warning that's now moving toward the Jasper area. If you're here in Louisville, well, we are hearing thunder and lightning. Obviously, we have some thunderstorms moving through, and that includes the downtown area. As you work your way down toward Shively, PRP points further to the south, probably seeing that lightning and hearing the thunder. But the real deal is what we've been watching on the radar over the course of the evening, and that's been this thunderstorm along this line. Now, tough to pick out. Earlier today, we had that textbook classic hook, that hook echo moving across. This is not the same, and we're not in the same situation as we were earlier. So when we look at this velocity, it's tough to pick out, but we do see some embedded rotation within this storm, and that is moving off to the east, roughly at about 55 miles an hour. I'm going to put a storm track on that. In fact, Ryan's working on the storm track now, and we'll show you some communities in the path of this. But for now, if you are in Jasper, if you're in, say, Du Bois, you've got to be in your tornado safe place. This storm is moving through. It has shown signs of rotation, and we have had power lines and roofs and shingles being peeled back with this part of the storm. That's also approaching the French Lick area, hit not too long ago with very large hail doing damage. We haven't seen a whole lot of hail reports out of this. If you look, you can see some of that purple, typically indicative of where we would have the hail. But this really is a wind maker that's moving in, and that's moving to the east, as we pointed out, at about 55 miles an hour. Let's go over to Ryan Hoke. He has some of the communities in the path of this storm. Ryan, Jasper's up next.
Yes, if we can get Max 2 behind me here, I'll just start reading off some of the counties here. That's going to be French Lick at 10:50 p.m. There we go. Orangeville 10:55, and then you'll see the Paoli about 11 o'clock this evening. So you've got about half an hour in the Paoli area before this little notch here that's triggering the tornado warning begins to move on in. Again, this is embedded within the line of storms here. So this is going to be like a wall of thunder, lightning, and very heavy rain. You are not going to be able to see this tornado. It is not ever worth going outside during a tornado warning, but especially at night. This is an extremely dangerous situation for folks who are trying to get to sleep and may not know what's going on here. So again, this tornado warning here does include the very western tip of Orange County, Indiana. You'll notice that French Lick is in the warning. Paoli is not yet. Let's hope that this warning does not continue downstream into central Orange County, but at this time, we do have to act like it will. You'll notice that the speed of this storm is about 55 miles per hour. This is going highway speeds, so you need to know that this thing is packing a punch, and even if you don't see a tornado out of this, you're going to see some very strong damaging winds, possibility for small to medium-sized hail, and yes, that very heavy rainfall potential is there as well. I don't want to forget about our friends and neighbors here in the Louisville metro area. I know we're hearing thunder right now. I want to put the radar over the Louisville area for just one moment here so you can see we've got this scattering of downpours with lightning in them at this time, and these are not severe just yet, but we have to watch because any of these storms that form in front of the line will have lots and lots of energy to work with here to grow upscale into any sort of severe weather, potentially guaranteeing that some folks will get some warnings if they grow upscale into that, but we will keep an eye on these. So Louisville, we haven't forgotten about you. The main tornado warning is just to our north and west. It's about an hour and a half drive up 150 there toward where this warning is near French Lick, just west of Paoli here. That's why we've been in an alert day all day long. We had the tornado earlier. Now we're getting back into our second round of storms that we said would happen after 10 p.m. Time is currently 10:35. Boom, they're on the radar, and you need to be prepared, folks.
Yeah, and Ryan, we'll continue to track this storm. Again, the one that's happening here in Louisville, not severe, but those storms are growing. The main threat's going to be along this line where we have the embedded features of the rotation. And we pick those out by looking at the reflectivity based on sort of this backwards C. You can see that that would be like a notch in the radar echo. So that would be one area of concern. And then we've got another one down here just north of Jasper. A couple others as you work your way on the sort of lower flank of that polygon, getting close to the Huntingburg area. This is all going to cross over 231 as it moves through Du Bois County, including Jasper, moving past Reeve now, but approaching Lost River and eventually French Lick. That's why we have the tornado, two separate ones for Orange County and Du Bois County going until 11 o'clock tonight. So if you're watching and you were trying to get in your favorite TV shows, we've had to interrupt here because it has been an active day. We've already had massive damage coming out of parts of Jefferson County, Indiana, Trimble County, Kentucky. That was over toward Hanover and Milton. And now we continue to see thunderstorms erupt across the area. But the main concern with that line, and it's along that line in this favorable sheared environment where we have had enough instability today to now develop these storms that are rotating and consequently able to produce very strong wind and the possibility of tornadoes because of the wind field and the rotation. I'm going to zoom back in. We still have minutes left on this tornado warning, the 2 until 11 o'clock tonight. I'll start on a wide zoom and then we'll go back in a little tighter. You can see from Bedford, Indiana, where we have thunderstorms going. Severe thunderstorm warning there. Notice the outline in black. That's sort of a subtle indicator that severe thunderstorm warning comes with a tag that says tornadoes possible. And we're going to see a lot of those tonight. And when we start talking about nighttime tornadoes, it gets our attention a little more simply because as folks start going to bed, it's tough to wake up in the middle of the night and sometimes it's too late. So you have to have a way to get the warnings. That's the first step, and that means either a NOAA weather radio, the Wave weather app, something that's going to make some noise to wake you up, and then you turn your television on, and here we are when we have emergency weather in the viewing area. And that's what we're dealing with both across Du Bois County and Orange County. These storms are moving in, so there's no stopping them. The question is, when will they start easing back in their intensity? And that's going to happen. It's just going to take a little bit of time, though. So I suspect that we're going to continue some of these warnings farther to the east as the night wears on. We're just now increasing the low-level jet, so our shear is getting greater. The one part of the ingredients that we'll be losing is as the atmosphere cools, we will be losing some of that instability. That said, we still have plenty to go. And when we look at that velocity, I'll go back to it and point out that the velocity on this, it's still tough to point out where we have the greatest rotation. It's notches within and embedded in that line. So this is where we have the greatest concentration of that. And you can see that right along 231, both areas just north of the Jasper area, pushing off to the east. So that's one area of concern. It's the greatest area of concern. However, it's important to mention as we look at the whole scope of this that anywhere along this line has the potential to put down some pretty strong winds, upwards of 60 to 70 miles per hour, and a period of very heavy rain and a tremendous amount of lightning on this. So if we put the lightning only on, you can see those lightning bolts that are coming in. Not warnings that we've mentioned. That includes Du Bois County and the western part of Orange County. I'm going to go back to the tornado warnings, and then Ryan will walk us through the latest severe thunderstorm warnings. This is the tornado warned storm now approaching French Lick along 150. Tornado safe place. We still see some what we would call inconsistencies along the base or the forward range of that radar echo. And that's where we could have, if it's going to happen. Remember, this is not confirmed. This is radar indicated. Tough to pick out. Especially when it's in the linear fashion like this, because there's no one place you would see it. It could be, if we were looking, it would be just south of French Lick, and if we were looking, it would be near Birdseye. So those would be the two zones I'd be most concerned with as this system pushes to the east with the tornado warnings that will be in place until 11 o'clock tonight. So we're about 9 minutes away. The radar will continue to show that while those are the two severe thunderstorm warnings, or the two tornado warnings, we do have a number of other severe thunderstorm warnings. They have the potential to also produce strong winds and very So let's get over to Ryan Hoke, who's tracking a few of those.
Yeah, let's triage some of these here, Kevin. I want to get to the first one, and this one's going to be right along 150, northern Harrison County, Palmyra, Martinsburg, Pierce, Oregon Springs, areas just south of Salem and Washington County, Indiana. This goes until 11:15. We're talking about 1-inch hail potential. The hail in this storm, where is it right now? It is located right over the US 150 corridor there, just south of Oregon Springs. New tornado warning, Kevin. This includes Paoli. Orange County is involved with that there.
All right, so let's jump back to the maps here. I want to be able to punch up the new tornado warning that's coming out, because this is being extended, as we pointed out, that sort of notch. We said French Lick, you should be in your tornado safe place. It's moving through now. We also have Youngs Creek and Paoli now within this polygon, which includes the tornado warning. It's parts of Du Bois and Orange, including French Lick and Paoli. 1-inch hail. This is radar at this point. So no observed, no eyes on the sky where we say we've got it, it's down, we're seeing problems. We'll be making calls, and we've got people talking to us in our ears saying, hey, we're on the phone with Orange County. Yeah. All right. Let's see if we have any issues coming in from both Du Bois and Orange County as this storm's now making its way through French Lick and approaching Paoli, a very populated area of southern Indiana. That's what's happening now with the tornado warnings. I'm going to go back to the home view, and we'll zoom back in, because should this hold together, we're going to come right into Washington County and then very close to the Louisville area. So we still have to watch this. We're not letting our guard down simply because we're getting later in the night. Not yet. These storms have not this point to that level. We still have a tremendous amount of energy in the atmosphere, and we certainly are now increasing the wind field. That gives way to even more rotation in some respects. Lots of lightning surrounding these storms. One thing we'll be watching is when that lightning count starts to come down. So on our home view, watch it with us. We're at 297 lightning strikes. It's 10:53. We'll check back in another 20 minutes or so just to see what the lightning is doing. It's often time an indicator of when we are actually starting to see these storms begin to weaken. Severe thunderstorm warnings in places, but the most concerning, in addition, would be the tornado warnings that we have. And the latest one has been issued for Orange County. This one will go for another 21 minutes. So that one moves right into Paoli. You've probably got another 5 to 7 minutes to get in your tornado safe place. So if you know folks in Paoli, along 150, it's coming right through there. Radar indicated. Need to be in your tornado safe place. Give them a call. Wake them up. Let them know to turn the television on if they have it. Ryan?
Real quick here, Trimble County between Bedford and Milton. Please be on standby. We do have some rotation on radar with that storm cell that's moving right along the US 421 corridor. This is moving toward Carrollton. Not very strong, but it is something that you need to keep an eye on. So if there's a tornado warning issued, go into your tornado safe place immediately. This is the Bedford area just south of Milton, and heading in toward Carroll County, the Carrollton area. This kind of duopoly here of warnings here because of that one particular storm cell. It does have some rotation, does have some hail with it, but it's not enough to be considered a tornado warning or even a tornado possible tag. Just giving you the earliest alert on that storm here so that we don't forget about our friends and neighbors in Kentucky too, Kevin.
All right, emergency management out of Du Bois County reporting 51-mile-per-hour winds, so that was just at one location. Odds are if you're in the core of the storm, it was even higher. So Du Bois County, we know you've had not far from Du Bois, in Du Bois County, 51-mile-per-hour wind. That was reported just before 11 o'clock. That's been what we've been tracking over into the Patoka Lake area. And now, of course, the tornado warning continues across all of Orange County, including Paoli. We've got the storm tracker out over near Carefree, Indiana. That's approaching now. You can see starting to get under the severe thunderstorm warning. This will include to our south English, Indiana, working your way over closer to Harrison County, Indiana. So let's see if we on board with David Ochoa. David, just talk with us while we keep the radar up. We see your picture, but just give us an idea. The lightning from our SkyTrack vantage here in the studios looks pretty impressive. What's it look like as you get closer?
For a while on I-64, the sky has absolutely been lit up with all the lightning, and we did get a bit of hail and a lot of rain. Right now we're in a little bit of a lull. We haven't seen much in the last 10 minutes or so, but just getting out here, there was a lot of lightning, a lot of rain, and a lot of hail. But, you know, right now we're not seeing much, but of course we'll toss it back to you to tell us what is coming up.
All right, David, thanks. We may check back in, David, and we want to hear from you, but we also want to see what it looks like from the front of that vehicle. So swap your camera around. Let us see that. We've got our SkyTrack cameras on as well. Watching the lightning, and in some cases, being able to see is what it's all about, especially this late at night. This is the hard part of what we have to do with nighttime storms. It makes it very tough. John Bowles in the studio, too. He's been making some calls. At this point, he says we have no damage to report, which is great news. That just means that these radar-indicated tornadoes may not be on the ground. That's fantastic. We hope that's the case all night long. That said, it can change in an instant, and when the radar starts to indicate that rotation, it doesn't take much to have them touch down. We certainly saw that, and we noted the damage with that. So I'm going to zoom back into our tornado warning. We've got two. The one that comes across Orange County includes French Lick. It also includes Paoli. This one will go until 11 o'clock. That's the one back to the west. The other one is extended for another 15 minutes through about 11:15. Du Bois County until 11 o'clock. So 3 more minutes on those warnings. We continue to not only look at the warnings that we have in terms of tornadoes, but also the severe thunderstorm warnings. And as it stands tonight, we don't always have to have a tornado to have some major damage. The winds themselves with systems like these, because of the wind field, can cause major problems. And if you see Ryan just in that box to my left-hand side, he's looking inside those storms, tracking the velocity and the intensity of those storms, where we also, in the severe thunderstorms, have some powerful winds and the potential for hail. So, Ryan, again, walk us through that storm you were looking at very close to Palmyra.
Yeah, at this point, we're going to continue to watch that storm right along 150 there. This storm does not exhibit anything wind-wise that is super concerning. However, hail-wise, this has had a history of putting down, on radar at least, some fairly decent signatures there. And you see right there, just north and west of Palmyra. So if you drive north and west on 150 from Palmyra, you're going to run into some hail. Here in Louisville, I do want to touch on Louisville because I know we've got like 1.2 million people here. We want to make sure you're taken care of. You'll notice kind of 4 of these storm cells. None of them are severe. We have had some dime-size hail in Barbermead that was just reported. Thank you to Kathy. And then in Georgetown, some pea-size hail as well. Fairly small hail sizes there. The one storm that has our concern at a fairly elevated level here is what's moving through Carroll and Trimble counties. And this is a hard-hit area from earlier today. A lot of folks are without power there, so we are concerned about that. Of course, this storm is now moving into the meat, if you will, of Carroll County. It is packing some hail as well, so I'll pop the hail on there so you can see where that is. And man, look at this. This is just north and east of Bedford. This is like where the hail cores are. When we say storm core scanner, we're looking for the core of the storm where the ice is, where the hail is. And you'll notice that's right along US 42, just east of the 421 interchange there in Bedford. So this is really going to be hitting hard in Carrollton. Carroll County, and especially Carrollton, be on guard for some large hail here. We're talking about possibly a quarter-size hail. Can't even rule out some larger stones in a couple of instances with a storm of this magnitude here. Again, here in Louisville, the hail is small. If the hail gets bigger than quarter size, that's when we start to get into a damage situation. We haven't had any reports like that as of yet within our counties from this round of storms here, Kevin.
Yeah, and that's the good news. So we haven't had a whole lot. We've got pea-size hail coming in right now from New Albany, it looks like. So that's the only hail report, and we can tolerate pea-size hail. The bad deal is there is potential to see upwards of quarter-size hail with these storms as they push closer to us. That's that 1-inch range. Again, I keep pointing out the tornado warning that we've been really focused on through the event is the one in Orange County. This is the one that's moving through French Lick, approaching Paoli. Very tough to point out simply because there's not that one spot of rotation. It's sort of jagged along the line, but that's indicative of seeing some very strong winds moving through. And with the wind field, it's always better to err on the side of caution, and that's why the tornado warning comes out. We certainly can see that push of wind. We have had reports of some damage, meaning to the west, where this storm was, with power lines down, some shingles blown off of some roofs, and now we continue to see that storm for another 15-14 minutes continue with that tornado warning for French Lick and the Paoli area. I'm going to go back to the reflectivity that we have here on our radar. In addition to that, it's heavy rain. Little hail being picked up out of the radar in this warning itself, at least in that tornado warning. If we go to our home view, you'll be able to see additional others. So most places, as we go back to the home view here, are not seeing the hail, are not seeing the strong winds, but everybody's going to pick up some rain out of this. Eventually, the shield of rain moves through. Now, you can see that warning being trimmed back a little bit as we move that storm forward into parts of Clark County. The severe thunderstorm warning continues. I promise you, we check back in on the lightning. Remember, we were at 2-something. Now it's gone up. So the lightning count is not coming down. It's maintaining. That means these storms are not weakening at this point. So we'll continue to track the lightning count. We continue to track the sort of storms that are growing in intensity, and we have a number of those taking place out ahead of the main line. So some of that energy is being transferred to this forward line of showers and thunderstorms that's just now developing. Ryan?
Yeah, we've got what's called M-Ping hail reports, so citizens are reporting where they're seeing hail. And you'll notice in Du Bois County, we did have one report here of quarter-size hail. That was just west of 231. And then look at the Louisville metro area. This thing has lit up today within the last few minutes here, pea to dime-size hail. But so far, no reports within the 30 counties that we serve of that quarter-size or larger hail from M-Ping. You can submit those with the M-Ping app, by the way. It's a National Weather Service thing that you can download there, and that will get straight into our system. So that's a fantastic way to report severe weather. We can see it, we can show it, National Weather Service can see it, and it helps everybody out, Kevin.
No question. Your reports are our eyes in times like this, so it's what we say. We can have the best radar on the planet, but when we have the set of eyes, there's nothing better than the ground truth. We say it every severe weather episode. We take a collective look at what's happening. We've got thunderstorms starting to develop on the forward side of this as our cap has been breaking over the course of the last several hours. These thunderstorms are being able to grow. As they grow, they become what we call surface-based. More of these storms have the potential not only to produce strong winds and rain and the vivid lightning that we've seen, but that's eventually what it transitions to. So we'll eventually walk away from the tornado threat and become more of a wind and rain threat as this moves through. It's moving fairly fast, so we don't have, in terms of major flooding issues, to really worry about. When we look at the tornado warning to the north, that is the warning that we went on the air with for western parts of Orange County. At that time, Du Bois County was also under a separate tornado warning. This one has been extended until 11:15. Includes all of 150 as you work your way up to Paoli and beyond as you move on out of Orange County. This storm, again, we've had no reports from law enforcement that say they have any major damage. That warning being trimmed back a little bit still includes Paoli, has not been extended into parts of Washington County at this point, so that's some good news. We continue to see the wind potential. And I just keep using the word potential because it hasn't been confirmed. The severe thunderstorm warning covers a good chunk of real estate as well, in addition to the other warnings that are out ahead of that. We saw the ones over in Trimble and Carroll counties, this one in parts of western Clark County, including Borden, southern parts of Washington, northern parts of Harrison. So we still have other thunderstorms capable of strong winds. This is the only one with that tornado warning. Ryan?
All right, our newsroom's made a couple of phone calls here. Metro Safe in Louisville says no major damage here. That's expected. These storms are not severe in the area. Orange County Dispatch, however, said there is no damage there reported just yet. And as this storm line continues to kind of move to the east here, we're hoping to see at least the tornado aspect of that continue to wind down, Kevin. And it looks like that possibly may be taking place. We'll see.
That would be helpful, and that would be expected, though we can't let our guard completely down as the night wears on, simply because with the winds that we have in place, we still have that potential. But things slowly will calm down as the night goes on. If you've been watching us the last couple of days, we said early in the early evening between 10 and midnight. We'd have storms in the northern part of the viewing area, close to the Louisville area around midnight, pushing to our south by that 1, 2, 3 a.m. time frame. All in all, things have been pretty much on schedule for that. The warning for the tornado continues, but again, it's just within that band along 150 where we would see the greatest expectation for that to occur. So that is really the only tornado warning that we have. Hopefully we can see that expire. I'm just going to go back to the velocity. And what we're looking for is either where we see winds coming together, so that would indicate rotation, or where we have some very bright areas of where it's a push of wind, and that would be one. So right along 150, just off to the east of Paoli, that would be one area that we're watching. A little bit of a notch there, sort of that backwards C bowing out just a tad. So some powerful winds coming through nonetheless. Again, the radar shoots a little bit higher in the sky as we get out from the radar sight with distance. All right. We continue to track these not only with the tools that we have behind me, including the radar, which shows us the velocity and the reflectivity. We have a number of SkyTrack cameras set up. We also have the storm tracker, which is out and about. Again, we haven't seen any major damage out of any place, but we have seen a lot of lightning, and you can see it lighting up the downtown Louisville skyline as well, because we do have storms in Louisville. So let me give you just a brief view of that. I'm going to go home view, and then we'll come back into the Louisville Metro as we zoom around. And I'll point out here in Louisville that we can see the lightning from quite a distance, but we don't have to look too far. We can see thunderstorms over Prospect and Goshen, additional thunderstorms down toward Valley Station. Certainly looking out to the west, we can see those thunderstorms from Georgetown up toward Greenville and Scottsville. Now, I'm going to pull the radar down because we have the thunderstorm warnings, none for Louisville themselves. Let's start with the ones furthest away, and then we'll come back. So I'm just going to grab the radar. You can see Carrollton, quite a thunderstorm right along 71. That's a severe thunderstorm warning that is in place. The Carroll County severe thunderstorm warning, by the way, is in place for another 22 minutes. That will continue. As we roll back, moving to the west, we're going to skip over southern Indiana. This is Clark County. There's Henryville, Charlestown. Here comes Borden in on a severe thunderstorm warning. That severe thunderstorm warning for Clark County, Indiana, has another 7 minutes left on it. And then we get it to the tornado warning where we have Paoli. And that warning is also embedded within a very large severe thunderstorm warning. That will continue to move off to the east. Now, there's really no difference from what we're looking at from Paoli down toward English in terms of that radar view. So it goes with saying that even within the severe thunderstorm warning tagged with tornado possible, that we're seeing similar conditions to what is inside that tornado warning. We move to the south as we work our way back across the Ohio River. There's Leopold. We get into parts of Perry County. We have additional thunderstorms down toward Hardensburg that will put down some small hail there, upwards of pea size, over toward Irvington as you work your way out US 60. And that takes us across parts of Meade County from Flaherty to Buck Grove into parts of northern parts of Hardin County into Bullitt County. So these thunderstorms all have the ability to produce some wind and small hail, but the ones producing the greatest wind appear to be easing just a bit. And those happen to be those initial storms along that main line, which is up around Paoli. Ryan, what do you have?
Yeah, at this point, it looks like there's going to be a new severe thunderstorm warning. Storm between Harrison, Washington, and Clark. Looks like it still has hail aloft, and they're going to be issuing that warning here coming in just a few minutes here. So that would be, of course, another thing that we're going to have on the list. That came by at 11:09 p.m., so that's fresh information there. And also wanted to show you that the storm tracker is driving into that line of storms there in Crawford County. You can see the lightning flashes in the distance there if you kind of watch the sky above that road there for a little bit of time. But yes, indeed, we do have the storm tracker on the scene near English, Indiana at this time, Kev.
All right, well, as they start to move in, I see the wipers on. Let's check in with David Ochoa, who's aboard the storm tracker. David, I'm curious, wind, rain, lightning, what do you have?
Well, Kevin, we just started to get some rain and some... Looking outside, we're seeing some flags out there really waving hard in the wind, and of course you can see all the thunder going on, or the lightning up above here. We're just getting into English right now, and this seems to be really picking up now.
Back in with you. That is picking up there. We've been watching and tracking your progress as you make your way closer to the core of that storm. So moving through English, Indiana. Let me zoom back into that main line and we'll work our way back down to English. So we'll start with the northern part of the warning. That includes the severe thunderstorm and the tornado warning. This storm is about out of, by the way, and it's set to expire at 11:15. We've seen no indication that this tornado warning is going to be expired farther to the east. So that's some good news. We will continue to track that as it moves into Washington County, because that part of the storm will go between Oregon Springs and Salem. Right along 150 is where it's at now. Now, as we grab that radar and look a little bit further to the south, let me just point out that we're getting into southern parts of Orange County. Quite a bit of rain, lots of lightning, and of course the thunder, as David mentioned, we could hear. You can see over toward parts of southern Indiana and Clark County, Borden, Greenville, northern parts of Floyd County. We're going to see hail in that storm. A lot of these storms have some small hail, so maybe that's waking you up in places. New warning coming out. This is likely what Ryan was mentioning a while ago, extending across parts of the metro. Clark, Floyd, Oldham, and Washington counties all now under a severe thunderstorm warning. Again, this is for the potential for hail and wind. No tornado warning with this severe thunderstorm warning, though we do have hail very close to the core of that storm, sitting back across Martinsburg, northern, very close to Greenville, in fact, right along 150. All right, back to that one in a second. Ryan's tracking some hail on that, so we'll get to him in a minute. Pointing out that the tornado warning should expire in the next 3 minutes. We were working our way down. And as the storm tracker moves through the English area, they are now in the core of the wind and the rain. So the storm tracker can make its loop back toward Louisville, staying ahead or just behind that system as we track it back into Louisville, because that is what is moving in our direction. So if you were along 64, we'll track that right back into town with more heavy rain pushing our way. That warning goes all the way down to the Ohio River, northern parts of Perry County, Leopold. You're under the severe thunderstorm warning. Tornado tag on that, meaning the tornado would still be possible anywhere within that warning. It's just tough to pick out. As we go back to the home view, we pointed out a number of things. First of all, we've said that the main line is now starting to sort of blossom. So we're seeing other stronger storms. We have the severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Carroll County, including Carrollton. And now the latest severe thunderstorm north of Louisville, sort of an extension almost of what we had back across parts of Orange County. And that warning continues all the way down to the Ohio River in parts of Perry County. Ryan?
Okay, let's track the hail in that storm. And here it is. This is the hail core. It's literally between Borden, Martinsburg, Greenville, and Scottsville. This is just north and east of Highway 150. They are crossing between the northern part of Floyd County and into the western part of Clark County. This is very close to Huber's Orchard and Winery, Starlight, in there somewhere between Borden and Scottsville there. So this could be putting down the potential for some quarter-size hail. If we switch our hail scope over, you can see what the projected size is, and we're definitely matching up with that quarter size there with that hail core. And again, that storm is now projected to move eastbound toward I-65 between Henryville and Sellersburg. I would not advise travel north of Sellersburg or south of Henryville and 65, just because this is a very heavy thunderstorm with some hail in it at this time. And then we have that second severe thunderstorm warning, if you will, that area of that that's now starting to move east of the Carrollton area. That storm core is going to be out of our counties here in about 10-15 minutes or so. So we're starting to see that exit, while the new storm that we continue to watch here is moving into Clark County and to the very northwestern notch of Oldham County, Goshen, right along US 42 there, heading towards Skylight as well, just inside of that severe thunderstorm warning. No tornado possible tags on these severe thunderstorm warnings, Kevin. This is just hail and wind we're concerned about for now on these.
All tornado warnings have expired at this point. If you don't mind finding that Huber camera, we have a camera there, so let's see if we have any of that hail being caught on camera. camera because it's, we have 10 SkyTrack cameras. We can see a lot with those, even though it's tough to see at night. A lot of times they'll have the lights up. So we'll be putting that SkyTrack camera up. We'll notice that the severe thunderstorm warning going just north of Louisville also contains a tremendous amount of rain and lightning. The good news is it's moving fairly fast. Now, typically we wouldn't stay on nonstop with severe thunderstorm warning. And in fact, John's out here. We may want to recap what's happened earlier today in the last half of our newscast here, because the folks in Trimble counties, Kentucky, and Jefferson County, Indiana, were hit hard. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes just to prepare for that review of what's happened, and then we're obviously keeping track of what's happening here. But we'll keep it all weather themed as we roll throughout the rest of this half hour, and we'll stay on as long as we need to. But I just wanted to point out that the tornado warnings have ceased, and that's good news at this point. Once typically that starts to happen, the trend is to continue that. It doesn't mean that we won't see another tornado warning. It doesn't mean that at all. So be careful in how you interpret what I'm saying. I'm saying that trend is good. We haven't completely wiped it out, but we're going in the right direction. So when you look at the severe thunderstorm warning to our north, we have a tremendous amount of lightning with this storm and the potential for some hail falling out of that. Our SkyTrack camera out of Starlight shows just the wall of rain that's coming down, and it is raining heavily. You can see that in this bottom box beside me. Notice the lightning flashes too. If you look close enough, you may be able to see the potential for that hail on the ground, but it's certainly some very heavy rain. And Ryan, you're looking at that with us here.
Right.
So
it looks like just rain for now, but boy, is it coming down in sheets. You can see it kind of coming off of that aluminum roof there. Yeah. I'm not seeing the hail just yet, but it's kind of hard to see because it's night and we're doing this by floodlight, all right? So this is what we're seeing right now. You can see, of course, the water is just coming down in sheets there. We will continue to monitor for hail. The lightning is intense there. Please stay away from doors and windows if you're in western Clark County or anywhere in Clark County, because you're under the warning as this thunderstorm continues to move on through. Again, this is a severe thunderstorm warning we're tracking. As Kevin was talking about earlier, the tornado warnings have expired for now.
Yeah, and we'll keep an eye on the radar, obviously. We're watching that storm. It's a scan-by-scan moment and motion of what we do here in the Weather Center when we have storms like these that are just kind of scattered out everywhere, because it's tough to keep an eye on every one of them. And the thing is, every scan brings something different, so we're constantly monitoring what's happening with these storms. Let me review with you with what's happening. We're 2 minutes away from recapping what happened earlier today. We'll talk more about that. But what we have ongoing now, severe thunderstorm warnings, and let me just walk you through those because we have a few. The first one is the one that's not long to expire. That one's moving across Carroll County. You can see moving out of Carroll County will approach the Warsaw area. The heaviest of that storm is in southeast Carroll County, right over I-71. Again, that's one severe thunderstorm warning. We have more. The others are lined up out to our west. Let's zoom into those. You can see the one moving not far from Paoli. That's still under a severe thunderstorm warning. That includes a good chunk of Washington County. Near Beck's Mill, comes right up to Salem. Campbellsburg is within that range. Back to our home view, and we'll zoom back into the latest severe thunderstorm warning. And that one happens to be the one that's in the metro. This one is just across the river. Lots of lightning. That's where you saw from not far from Borden, Scottsville, Greenville, up in the Knobs. That's where we've noted that as you work your way just to the north, we have some very heavy rain falling along with some hail. Upwards of pea size have been reported. Wouldn't be surprised to see it just a little bit larger in places. Ryan?
Yeah, in fact, we've had it larger in places. 4 reports now from Emping of quarter-size hail from near Carrollton. Southeast Jefferson County also had 1 quarter-size report there. Notice near English, and then once again just south of Jasper. This is all within about the past hour or so that we've had these reports here coming from Emping, which is, of course, the citizen reports coming into the National Weather Service here. And what I'm going to do is pop up the power outage map real quick just to leave you with this to know what's going on. And, of course, Bedford, the Trimble County area, still sticks out from the earlier storms where 80+% of the county is without power. Carroll County also at this time time, dealing with about a 9% power outage of those tracked customers. So we're going to keep track of all this data, Kevin, as we are moving through the evening and seeing these storms continue to move toward the Louisville metro area.
All right, Ryan, thanks. As promised, 20 after, we'll have another 10-15 minutes of our newscast here. We'll have the full weather report coming up and any additional updates we need to give. But I really want to catch you up on what's happened earlier today with the wild weather that we've had. Let's get over to John Bull.
Well, today we heard the sirens, and I came out on the front porch to see what I could see, and I noticed over there to the west a tornado forming, and by the time we got back in the house, it hit.
Homes lost, and the repairing and rebuilding is already underway. The tornado tore through a southern Indiana town, taking roofs, windows, and belongings with it. Hanover, Indiana got hit hard by the tornado, and many people are without homes tonight. David Ochoa was out tracking the situation in Hanover, talking to homeowners who took a direct impact earlier today. Seeing a lot of rain and lightning along I-64 tonight from the storm tracker. We've shown you that. But as far as the damage goes, Dale Drew's house in Hanover. Drew was watching Wave News when he heard about the severe weather coming his way. He went to move his car into his garage, and just minutes later, that's when the tornado hit. Drew said there was a downpour of rain, and he knew something bad was about to happen, so he told his wife to get away from the window. He heard a loud swooshing noise and then a huge thud. That was his roof peeling off and his garage getting tossed into the backyard.
Unbelievable, you know, the power of these things. And I mean, these two airplanes sitting here, these things were hanging over in the garage over my truck. It literally picked that roof up, flipped it upside down, and laying out in the middle of the field out here or in the backyard, the two airplanes were there, survived.
Wow, yeah, the airplanes look good. Just on the other side of the street, several houses were just as damaged. Gail Leiter and his family had just moved into their house in December. After he heard the sirens, he walked outside and saw the tornado coming. So he went back inside, got on the floor in the utility room with his family. They all survived, but their new house was destroyed.
Roof, the windows, as you can see, it's gone. Inside, it looks like just a jumbled mess.
Cars that were in the garage were also destroyed. The roof appears to have hit the back of the house directly behind them, causing a lot of damage to that home as well. Jefferson County, Indiana emergency leaders want you to report any damage from this afternoon's storms. You can call 211 to report that damage. The video on your screen is from the Route 56 campground in Jefferson County. The high wind overturned trailers. Reporting damage will help the teams create a comprehensive assessment and plan as the disaster recovery process continues. We have info to make a report on our website, wave3.com. Well, Kentucky emergency management teams in Milton are studying all this damage. They even asked to use the Wave drone to check the structure of the bridge right there after the tornado blew right past it. Here are some of the assessments that they have already taken.
So far, we have found about 50 to 100 homes that have damage. 20 to 30 have major to being fully destroyed. And then right now, our entire county is out of power. And so right now, the power company is giving us estimates of tomorrow afternoon.
Governor Beshear said he's been in direct contact with the county judges and mayors in that area. He says there are only reports of a couple of minor injuries. The Kentucky State Police Post in Campbellsburg started receiving calls that the tornado touched down in Milton about 2 this afternoon. Wave News reporter Noelle Friel joins us with more on how it tore through that area.
Yeah, people living in Milton were shocked to see the damages after the tornado tore through their area. Here's video of some of the damage that it caused to some local businesses in the area. We talked to an employee of a local tobacco store who says he was there as the tornado ripped through. He says he convinced a customer to seek shelter inside the store right before the tornado hit.
Another employee helped us and got him in, locked the door, went to the back of the area there. Everybody was safe and secure, but it was scary. Stuff was flying around. I saw the sign come down, and it just looked like it was just a piece of paper. It just flew it around just like nothing. It was just come smashing down.
Meanwhile, a Trimble County teacher described how she kept her students calm while getting them to their shelter space.
It's scary because I knew it was real. The kids, they were a little suspicious, so I tried to let them know it's just a drill. We went to our safe space, and I told them to just be quiet. We can listen for more instructions, but it was scary.
With so many homes in the area damaged or destroyed, that teacher is now hoping that her students have somewhere safe to be tonight. Kentucky State Police tell us that Highway 36 in Trimble County remains impassable and is still closed tonight, primarily due to power lines and trees being down. The closure between Carrollton and Milton is estimated to last at least 14 hours. Noel Friel, Wave News.
Thanks, Noel. Let's live look at the LG&E power outage map. It had shown that 1,500 customers have been without power, mainly in Carroll, Trimble, and Gallatin County. Across the river, Duke Energy is reporting fewer than 10 in Hanover and Madison. That's down, though, from more than 600 outages earlier this afternoon. Utility leaders remind you, if you see a down line, don't go near it. Call them immediately. Okay, now to really the most compelling part of our coverage today. We got a lot of videos from viewers showing us the storm as it moved in. So let's go through them here. This video right here is from Jefferson County, Indiana. You can see the rotation, the movement in the clouds. At one point, it looks like a funnel starts to form right there. We want to show you this new video from Brandy Gartley. It shows what appears to be the tornado forming and touching down on the Kentucky side of the river. National Weather Service confirmed this was an EF2 tornado. That means winds could have reached more than 110 miles an hour. This next video shows another angle from close to Hanover College. It was sent in by Tyler Rhodes. You can see the rotating clouds coming down to the ground, debris flying up in the air, went right over Hanover College. We also got this video of the storm moving across the Ohio River from Madison to Milton. It was sent by Josh Abbott, who was recording from the Fairfield Inn and Suites. You can see the wind picking up, the water, and throwing debris all way high up in the air in its path. It wasn't the only thing causing problems. There was a report of egg-size hail falling. Take a look at this video from near the Markland Locks and Dam in Gallatin County. So much hail on the road here, it looks like the snow cover over the top of the road. Take a look at the damage the hail did to this one car. This is from Carroll County. Look at the large hole busted out in the back windshield of that car. You can get your weather alerts that will wake you up sent directly to your phone. In situations like this, our team of meteorologists will keep you safe through the Wave Weather app. Use the QR code on your screen right now to download it. It really is the best way to go. We heard several stories today about people getting an alert on their phones and then immediately going to their safe place, and that having actually made a difference. That app is free in both app stores. We're going to go to break and come back with more coverage right after this.
Here's a look at the current Kentucky Lottery jackpots. The Kentucky Lottery, over $4.8 billion in grants and scholarships. Stay informed anywhere, anytime with the Wave News app. Download or scan the code on your screen now to get breaking news alerts sent right to your phone.
It's game on at Don Franklin. Choose from thousands of new and pre-owned vehicles.
This newscast is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan. There's only one. This is Wave News at 11.
Well, we were the first on the air as the tornado formed, touched down, and moved across the Ohio River from Madison into Milton earlier today. Take a look at this video of the wind picking up the water there. That was sent to us by viewer Mary Kasmerick. Tonight, we are committed to keeping you safe as several parts of the area have had tornado warnings, so let's dive back into it. So, Kevin, the way we are right now, we have some severe thunderstorm warnings still out there?
Yeah, and in fact, the closest one's just across the river. So while we're not under one here in Louisville, several of our communities, there's the lightning with it. So we're looking back over to the north and west from that camera vantage point. I want you to know as the night wears on, we still have the tornado watch. It's been extended to the south. That's until 4 a.m. We do have a number of power outages just now coming in, are the ones out of Crawford County. 43 homes out. That's 1%. So it doesn't seem like a lot, especially when you compare it to Trimble County, which has 83% of their customers without power. That was from the storms earlier this afternoon. Several communities up that way, both in Trimble and Carroll County, without power. Some of the rain totals. Obviously, you get into some of the heavier thunderstorms, quick half-inch of rain, quarter-inch near Carrollton. Most of us have had far less than that. This was the storm earlier today. You saw all of the images coming out of it. EF2 damage in parts of Kentucky. This is Milton, Kentucky. Now, Jefferson County, Indiana will get their surveys done at sunrise tomorrow. So the National Weather Service already has a plan to get there. But we know that winds have been over 110 miles an hour with that storm, and they're seeing more rain now and perhaps may wind up with another severe thunderstorm moving in next. So bad news for those folks getting hit time and again. This is near the Hanover area. Move across the river, you run into Milton. You see that on the map there. Madison Bridge. We've got a new tornado warning just now coming out. You can see that on our maps here. Let's go to it. So we'll stop our coverage and go in with nonstop coverage. Notice the little notch in the radar echo. That's for Breckenridge, Hardin counties. This is a new tornado warning that's just radar indicated, so there is not eyes on it. It's not confirmed to be on the ground, but when we look at that storm and inside of it, we can see the velocity, and you're going to notice that little, what we would say would be the notch, the wind right there. So we do have some rotation showing up on the velocity. We can see the notch in the reflectivity that we pointed out, and that is now a new tornado warning that will go until, and I'm looking at that, 28 minutes. So that takes us just past right to the midnight hour. So we're going to stay on with nonstop coverage until we can make sure this storm provides no threat. You can see what appears to be a little hook trying to form there. This would be the inflow into the storm. That's something that bears watching over the course of the next couple of scans as we move this through. So the potential is there for the tornado to actually touch down. This one actually is the, considering along that line, let me go back to it, along that line, this is one of the ones that appears a little more likely to actually touch down. We're seeing a lot of intersection with these storms as they collide together. Oftentimes that's enough to give us a little bit of twist in the atmosphere. I'm going to stop the radar view there. And as they collide with one another, that's where we can find in that junction some of that rotation. So sometimes it's short-lived, but nonetheless it can put down a tornado. We do have additional severe thunderstorm warnings just to the north of the city that we mentioned. Lots of lightning, heavy rain with that, and even some hail. We've seen a number of hail reports. Most of those have been in at about pea-size hail. Some just a little bit bigger, maybe the size of marbles. But this storm is now the one that takes our focus with that potential rotation. So I want to go back inside because we're going to just zoom in a little bit closer to that tornado-warned storm. It covers several of our counties to the south, Breckenridge being the one that's mainly in it, from Hardinsburg. So the Rough River Lake area not in the warning. It's areas just off to the north of 31W. So you can see that, well, off to the west of 31W from Brewleyville back toward Hardinsburg. And again, let's just zoom in even closer and we'll take a really close view of that. It's right along US 60. This would be the part of the storm that we're watching for that potential rotation. So I'll go over to Ryan. Ryan's taking a look at not only the inside the storm, we can look at a number of things. Walk us through the velocity, the debris potential, and all the other things we can see.
Right. So if we kind of cut the storm kind of under the hood here, you'll see that the rotation is just north and west of Hardinsburg at this time. You can see where that bright green is. That's wind coming toward the radar, and the kind of darker shades almost red here going away from it. So that's where we can see the velocity or where the spin is in this. We can also look at the where the storm core is on this sort of thing, and that's where we can find, of course, where we have any sort of hail, which is typically in this kind of a situation not as big of a deal just because it's embedded within the line of storms, but it's really going to be what we watch here is the debris detector, looking for where there could be debris. This is looking for objects that are being lofted by a possible tornado. We don't have anything that's co-located with this hook yet to really tell us that, hey, this is going to be a situation where we've got debris on radar. It's just not there at this time. We're going to look toward the storm here.
Go back to it.
Toward the debris there.
I see that blue. There is a little bit of blue just south of Clifton Mills.
I actually don't think that's anything.
Okay,
it's not co-located.
Yeah, I see where we are now.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to check that.
Nope, always good to check. I'm glad.
Yeah. Nonetheless, even though it may not be on the ground, this one has potential. It certainly has potential for some strong wind moving toward the Garfield, Harnett area as you work your way Hardinsburg to Irvington.
Yeah, so we're going to continue to watch that storm as it moves on through. This is, again, is Breckinridge County. And what we're looking at, it almost looks like Cape Cod. If I had to kind of characterize this here, it's this hook right here. Kind of looks like the eastern coast of Massachusetts here. And we could have a tornado forming at any point within that hook there. So this is tough because oftentimes these lines of storms with the little hooks embedded in them may not have a fantastically severe sort of radar appearance, but they can put down a tornado just like that. And that's why the National Weather Service is going to be very sort of proactive on issuing these tornado warnings tonight. Even if there's not a whole lot to see with the wind in the storms, these tornadoes can almost be sub-pixel or like smaller than the radar pixels when they're coming from these lines of storms like this. So that is something that we're going to continue to watch there. We also do want to pass along here that WTHR, our sister station in Indianapolis, is reporting 3 deaths in Winchester, Indiana, and 50% of the structures in Selma, Indiana, were damaged by a possible tornado up there. Again, that's outside of our viewing area there, but just want to give you a heads up of what's happening to our north here as we continue to track this tornado warning. Again, this goes until 11 p.m. Central Time, midnight Eastern Time. We're straddling 2 time zones as we continue to track this storm here, Kevin.
All right, still getting pea-sized hail out of the metro area, and that includes the Shepherdsville area, focusing on the tornado warning that goes until midnight. Again, that rotation, the inflow in would be near Garfield, approaching US 60 from Irvington toward Garfield, so that's the area that we continue to watch. The heaviest rain still falling from Hardinsburg to Clifton Mills, but the threat of the rotation is now moving off to your east. So again, when you check the radar and the velocity, we still see that pocket of wind approaching the Garfield community, another pocket of wind up toward Irvington for that matter. But nonetheless, moving toward Corners just north of Custer would be in that zone. Now, the reason that's flashing is they're trimming up the back edge of that warning, allowing that to expire. So those folks can hopefully get a little bit of rest, and we'll wait and see if any additional warnings become from the Weather Service. Now, back to our radar view, and I'm going to go to the home view once again. I know we bounce around a lot in severe weather, but we have a lot of viewers to take care of. The ones under the tornado warning actually are the ones in our focus, but we also have severe thunderstorm warnings just north of Louisville that have the potential of producing some strong winds. So Ryan's looking at that. We'll go to him in a second. I'll just zoom into it briefly and say we continue to see heavy rain, the possibility of some wind, but we've had no reports of damage, and the hail out of these storms have been tolerable, meaning they're not enough, it's not large enough to be destructive, and that doesn't appear to be the big threat. So we'll continue to watch that. I want to go back to the south and get an idea of that tornado warning. As we look inside of that, we can still see some of that rotation, some of that strong wind that's ongoing. So consequently, the one warning that we have just across parts of Clark County, moving into, well, far western Oldham County, that's the only other warning, and that's a severe thunderstorm warning. The tornado warning is off to our south. That includes what was a good chunk of Breckinridge County, but now the bulk of that is moving further across the eastern half of Breckinridge County, soon to cross into with a new tornado warning. And remember, I showed you those 2 pockets of wind. This is why the other warning was issued, right? So we can pick out the wind, and it's sort of like, okay, well, we see a pocket here, and there's a pocket here just outside of the warning. So let's go to it, and I'll just show it to you. Again, it's the squiggles along that line that we watch for the potential of seeing the actual rotation. And this is, again, up to 1 inch in hail, Breckinridge, Hardin, and Meade counties. So it's this line that's now moving through. The storm tracker is probably on its way back. We'll see if it can divert and maybe move across across the bridge there and come back in not far from Meade County. We'll intercept these storms and show you what's happening. You'll notice, again, from the reflectivity itself, we have that inflow into the storm. That was one area of concern. And on this one, back to the not far from the Irvington area. I can point it out even better on the velocity where we see these pockets of wind. So there's one, there's the other. Well, that's where we're watching for that greatest potential in rotation, right over the Irvington community, likely one of the most populated areas in that region. I mean, we got Brandenburg, Irvington, and Hardinsburg. Those would be the three sort of areas of highest or densest population. So we're going to wind up with these storms moving to the east and slightly to the southeast at about 45 to 50 miles an hour. They're moving pretty fast. That said, you've got to make sure you're awake and can get to shelter. That's the lowest level. That's away from windows. If you can hear me across Irvington, working your way toward and past Hardinsburg, moving toward Corners, Four Corners, Flaherty eventually. You're going to have to be in your tornado safe place. Radcliffe, you are also in the path of this storm. You have some time, but not a lot because these storms are moving fairly fast. Let's go over to Ryan Hoke.
Okay, yeah, at this time, Kevin, we've got that one lone severe thunderstorm warning just north of Louisville. This one expires in 4 minutes time, and I think they will let it expire right now. It's becoming more of the run-of-the-mill situation. We do have a brand new severe thunderstorm warning, however, that is just being issued. This does include Metro Louisville, so this is going to be areas of Jefferson County here. We're involving a lot of our population here. In fact, 1.2 million people are under this new severe thunderstorm warning. Includes Jeffersonville, Louisville, New Albany, areas just east of New Middletown, Indiana, down toward West Point. Also includes Shepherdsville, northern parts of Bullitt County at this time. And it's not necessarily because of the hail size, that's sub-severe. It's more so because of the 60-mile-per-hour wind characteristic that may be trying to happen with this batch of storms that's stretching from Lanesville to Dogwood down toward Laconia, Indiana. As that moves in toward Shively PRP Valley Station, that's when we could start to pick up some of that 60-mile-per-hour wind possibility. And that is enough, of course, to cause some damage to shingles. We're talking about displacing lawn furniture here and possibly worse than that. So if we've got 1.2 million people under this severe thunderstorm warning. You need to stay away from doors and windows and make sure that you're watching our live coverage here, not only here on Wave News, but we're also live on Wave Weather now as well, Kev.
All right, Ryan, we continue to track these storms that push across the area. 2 tornado warnings now in place. Both of those are south of the Ohio River, but just barely. This includes parts of Meade County, Breckinridge County, moving into the northern part of Hardin County, Radcliffe, Rineyville, Four Corners, Vertrees, Irvington, Hardinsburg. It's just past you, but the rest of those communities I mentioned still in the path of this storm as it moves a little closer. Let's go into a tight view. I'm going to zoom in. First of all, let me just put the velocity on, since that oftentimes is most helpful. And then I'm going to zoom in tight to these 2 areas of rotation. We're going to start pointing out some streets that would be involved as we get a little closer. If you're in Guston, between 428 and 60, it's right on top of you. We've just got a lot of wind coming in. Hill Grove, you'd be next in line. This is going to move right across US 60. That's the tornado warning that is in place now for parts of Meade County. That's one area of concern. Radar indicated, haven't had any reports of damage at this point, but that is one zone where we have some very strong winds showing up on the radar. That is where we have also some rotation. I'm going to pan the radar over and point out just a few more places. Fairly rural area, but not untraveled. We know that. Right along 60 to Hill Grove, making your way eventually as you get over just south of Buck Grove. That would be one. And then, of course, you get closer to the more populated area, the Joe-Prather Highway would come through. I'm going to go back to the home view and we'll zoom into the southern part of the rotation. It's these little areas of rotation that have the attention because that's the reason the tornado warnings have been issued. We zoom back in. And now we'll do the same thing on the southernmost storm. This one is across parts of Breckinridge County. You can see that Hardinsburg, it's past you. Hensley, it's just now past you. It's going to move just south of Corners. This is moving right along 86. So if you know that area from Graysville right on down to Custer, it is on the way. John Bednar, if you're watching Custer, it's coming at you. So we've got some strong storms pushing through as we continue to track this storm off to the south and east. This should go very close to High Plains, Custer. That would be a pocket of high wind that would be moving in, potential for the rotation as we move that through. Back to the radar view we go, and we'll go back to the home view. That said, we've got a lot of heavy rain and a lot of lightning with all of these storms passing by. At this point, severe thunderstorm warning continues for Jefferson County. Ryan Hoke is keeping an eye on the metro.
And there's a good reason for this warning. warning, Kevin. I was looking at some of the wind data here from the radar near Laconia right now, where you see that kind of bright green spot here. We have been watching 60-mile-per-hour winds on radar here, which is severe characteristic. 58 or greater is what we're looking for there. It's pretty much all along this line here that's just west of Shively, PRP, and Valley Station, getting ready to head into the Macedonia area. This is what I'm looking at here if we were to circle it. And as that transitions across the Ohio River into southwest Louisville, could pack some of those 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts here. West Point, you're also exposed to this. So West Point, Kentucky, make sure you're away from doors and windows. Again, this is the severe thunderstorm warning part of this. But boy, with over 1 million people in this warning right now, we want to make sure that Louisville and, of course, our counties that touch Louisville, like Bullitt, like Floyd, like Clark, are served appropriately here, because this is going to keep you awake here for quite some time. This severe thunderstorm warning ends at 12:15 a.m. And remember, our severe weather threat doesn't end entirely, likely until 3 a.m. So this is going to take some time for all 30 of our counties to get through. Right around midnight here, as we were forecasting earlier today, is when Louisville was going to see the brunt of these storms. Check it out, 11:46 p.m., 11:47 now. We are starting to see the storms move into the metro area. The main threat with these is wind. The hail is starting to ease, at least for the metro area, Kevin. This is mainly a wind potential for Louisville.
Yeah, and we'll watch that as we get closer. Obviously, we have a lot of sensors in Louisville, so we'll be able to get those real-time wind information. The latest is a very weak wind from the northwest at 6 miles an hour. So I suspect as that gets a little closer to the airport, we'll see that tick up. The Wave Storm Tracker has been deployed this evening. We had it out near the tornado-warned storms across parts of Crawford and Orange counties. Now it's making its way back closer to this line of storms. We have that quad box. I like to keep it up so we can keep viewers apprised and know that we're working in the Weather Center. We also have the Storm Tracker, and we've got our SkyTrack cameras. So we are hard at work making sure we've got all angles of this covered. The one to our south, obviously, because of the pockets of wind that are clearly able to be picked out by radar, are our focus. And that's what we've been saying with that tornado-warned storm. And that's why we've been putting on the velocity, looking at the potential for any debris. And again, you can still see in a couple of instances, pocket of wind, pocket of wind, pocket of wind. This one shows up as the strongest, it appears right now, passing by Grayville, going to move past Big Springs. This will cross out of Breckinridge County into the far western parts of Hardin County within the next, I'd say, 5 to 10 minutes. So it's going to be moving in. We'll see if that gets extended. I suppose that the chance of that happening is fairly likely because of what we're looking at on the radar. Even though it's just radar indicated, it's still that potential. The one above that flashing because we've trimmed back the back side of this. But again, this is an area that we're watching. Some strong winds moving again through the southern part of Meade County. That one, should it continue, would approach the Radcliffe area. So Radcliffe, you should be in your tornado safe place. You've got just a few minutes before that storm arrives. We'll continue to track this one moving out of Breckinridge County as well. Additional warnings may get issued. This one's fairly wide, but I still think we may need one that clips perhaps moving toward Elizabethtown. So stand by for potential severe weather and the potential for what may be a tornado warning across parts of Hardin County, including E-Town. All right. So again, those are the 2 tornado warnings that we have. We look to the north and we see the severe thunderstorm warning. That includes several places, stretches back out across southern Harrison County from Dogwood. Obviously, Valley Station, PRP, Shively, we see that wall of wind moving toward you. That would be Portland, downtown. We've got our SkyTrack camera aimed to the west, so you see that right here. We're going to see that wind increase. New Albany should already have the wind. We may put the New Albany camera up. Ryan, you want to thumb through some of the cameras? We'll show those while we've got the box up.
Yeah, let's do it.
And a lot of lightning is ongoing, and that's expected. I'm going to go to our velocity view now that we're on this wide of a view. This is the wind shift line. We can see that moving in. And again, embedded within that is where we have those stronger winds. So dark, it's sometimes tough to see the wind, especially unless the lightning is flashing. But you can see right along the Riverwalk is where that New Albany camera is. And on those lightning flashes, you can just see the heavy rain. That's another camera vantage point from Jeffersonville. We're looking back up I-65 to the north. The storm tracker is out. Very heavy rain falling where it's located. So that wind and rain moving across the western parts of Jefferson County will continue. We'll go back to the reflectivity. And on our radar view, you can see that. Notice that. And now let me put up some of our reports that we've had, because we have had reports coming in of hail. And while Ryan mentioned some of these are diminishing in being reported within the last little bit, we certainly saw some moving across the New Albany area that were dime size and pea size. Those have been the most common. We have had quarter size hail down towards Shepherdsville and back across southeast parts of Jefferson County, and then looking back out to the west. So one group of reports that we've had there. Those are the imping hail reports. Other reports coming in from the National Weather Service will show not a whole lot's happened here. We'll go to our home view, see if we have any, and then we'll go over to Ryan to see if he has any additional reports. Again, we have one wind report coming in. That's coming out of the Hardinsburg area with that storm passing by. Ryan, what do you have?
Yeah, at this point, no new reports here. We do have a spotter kind of right on the scene with one of those circulations. It's John Bettner. He's definitely eyes on that storm. That's good news there. We, of course, to watch our SkyTrack cameras, too. And these SkyTrack cameras really are showing the lightning potential this evening. The one I'm popping up now is in South Louisville. You can see Cardinal Stadium there. That's what those red lights are. So we're kind of scanning here for any of the lightning that's moving in from the west, and we'll continue to watch for those gusty winds as they hit the airport, and a lot of our cameras that are positioned kind of right along the I-65 corridor here in Louisville, as well as those counties, or I should say those cameras, that are also in southern Indiana, a little closer to the New Albany area at this time. But as far as like concrete reports go, we haven't had a whole lot out of these storms just yet. The unfortunate part about the timing here is, of course, everybody's wanting to try to get to sleep, and it's hard to do that when this is going on, right? And of course, you want to be safe too, so that's why the Wave Weather app is probably waking a lot of folks up, as it should be, to make sure that you're connected with our coverage here this evening so that you can keep your friends and your family safe. I'm going to cycle through one of our other cameras here. We're going to go back down toward downtown Louisville, look toward our west, and see if we can see any of that lightning that's out to the west as these storms kind of move in from Floyd County here. I've summoned the camera, but it is seemingly not wanting to play ball with me. There it is. And you can see some of the lower bases of the clouds there reflecting off of the city lights, and of course the rain on the lens. There we go. Finally, it's coming too. And you can see the winds are really starting to hit where that camera location is at this time, starting to coming down here in the city. Again, Louisville is under a severe thunderstorm warning until 15 after the hour here. So we have
a new tornado warning.
New tornado warning. There you go, Kevin.
Yeah, let's jump back to that. That's just now coming out. This new tornado warning is going to be coming in for parts of Hardin County. So that's the extension of the one we saw. That now includes Howell Valley, Rineyville, goes right into the E-Town area. Cecilia also in the path of that storm. So while Louisville's getting pelted with heavy rain, the threat to our south has been much greater in terms of actually seeing the very powerful winds showing up on radar. We have that rotation and wind moving into Four Corners, Howell Valley. We'll track that across parts of Elizabethtown or Hardin County into Elizabethtown. The home view shows that cluster of tornado warnings will continue. The latest one for another 36 minutes, so that takes us till 12:30. So the latest warning till 12:30. We're tracking these storms with you. We'll watch them move on out. The severe thunderstorm warning for Metro Louisville. Let me show you our SkyTrack camera because the rain really is whipping downtown. We can take that full screen and just point out as we roll through our SkyTrack cameras here in the Metro. We've got several of them. So, and you can see that one is over in Jeffersonville. This is the one downtown. And notice that heavy rain. Ryan pointed that out, but we can hear it here in our studios, and the wind is also accompanying that. Our latest wind gust hasn't come in just yet at anything above 20 to 30 miles an hour that I see, though parts of Breckenridge County have just had 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gust. There's our camera from the one prior to that was from Kentucky Kingdom.
That camera's having some trouble because of the winds moving through. There it goes.
Yeah, so we can see that, but that wind and rain pushing into that camera as well, and you see them bounce around just a little bit. Okay, back to the radar we go. You'll notice the warnings that we have. We pointed out Louisville because of that wall of water and rain with wind moving in. Lots of lightning as well. To the radar view we go. To the south, we have these thunderstorms that have the potential to produce these pockets of wind. That wind has the ability to rotate simply because we have the the shear in the atmosphere, enough instability. Oftentimes that happens on the southern edge of these storms. It's a collision course with two sort of bands of storms as well, and that never bodes well because the collision can create some rotation on its own. And again, we have the tornado warnings for a chunk of our counties. This would be a good portion now of Hardin County, from West Point all the way down 31W to Radcliffe into E-Town and points further to the west. Much of it is now out of Breckenridge County and moving through southern parts of Meade County. So if I were to say this, it would be southern Meade and a good chunk of Hardin County remain under the tornado warnings at this point. I'm going to point out again the velocity. You're going to see me keep going back and forth between the two because we do have pockets of wind within this that we've had no reports of damage, and the newsroom is making calls on this. So once we start getting any reports, we'll pass those on to you. So the good news is, we don't have the reports. The bad news is sometimes you don't get the reports at night because people are inside. They're not seeing what's actually happened. We may not get the reports until first light tomorrow or until something really bad happens.
We do have one report, and that's Custer, Kentucky, 55 mile per hour gusts out of that one. So that's about it for the moment, Kev.
Yeah, and that was from John. I mentioned that one. So we do have the wind gust, but
that's
in terms of damage, I haven't seen any. You'll see the lightning showing up. David Ochoa is aboard the storm tracker. I want to ask him, and David, sorry to just pop in on your drive there, but where are you, and have you noticed anything? Where are you going, one? And have you noticed anything out of the ordinary? You've been across southern Indiana over the last couple of hours here.
Well, we just got back into the metro right now. We're coming up on downtown. You can kind of see it coming up here. And just crossing over the Sherman-Minton right now. I know there's been a lot of stuff going on there, but it is very wet. There's a lot of water on the roads just on I-64 on both sides of the river. And it's coming down, and the lightning is lighting up the sky. It's like fireworks from thunder up here right now. And so we're just getting back in here. We're right here at I-65, and we're listening to you guys, and wherever you say needs to go, we're going to go. And so right now it looks like Meade County is the place to really be in Hardin County. So we're going to head down that way and see what we find down there.
All right, and we'll see. We haven't had any damage. If you want to hang in the metro for a while, that's fine too. We clearly have these storms moving through Louisville, so you may just kind of make your way around the Watterson or the Gene Snyder as you come into town instead of going down into an area where, frankly, the radar shows, but maybe nothing's happening. We could have more impact actually here in the metro, just so many more people involved. Really, it's along that line anywhere we could have some problems, and that's what we've noted. It's been the heavy rain and the wind. Our latest wind gust, you can see at this point, is 33 miles an hour. See it above my head here. So that's coming in from the airport. So 33 is the latest gust. 24 out of the northwest is the sustained wind. So that's what we have moving through Louisville. That's very tolerable. We can handle that. The rain, you saw a lot of folks as David was driving past had their flashers on. That rain is very heavy, so some folks saying, hey, better slow down and let's just turn the flashers on. Let's go back to the radar view. And then we'll make our little radar tour again here. I'll start with the metro area. This includes parts of Oldham County, not under a warning, but you're getting heavy rain along 71. We have the heavy rain passing through downtown Louisville. It's about to lighten up here downtown. Shively, PRP, the heaviest has passed you. It's moving into Fairdale, Okolona, Hillview, J-Town, St. Matthews, and Linden. You are now starting to see the heaviest wall of rain. Next in line would be Middletown over toward Fern Creek. You're going to get the rain and the wind. Again, our highest wind gusts have been on the order of 40. Around that 40 mile per hour mark, give or take a few miles per hour. What do you have,
we just got a 46 mile per hour gust
46.
at JVY up there, Clark County Regional Airport. Just want to throw that out there. 33 mile per hour gust at SDF.
Okay, good to know. So 33 Louisville, Clark County Airport 46, Bowmanfield 21. Those are our wind gusts at this point. We'll drag the radar down. We continue to see that rain spreading across Jefferson County, Bullitt County. It's just now moving into your area. I pointed out Hillview, but but Shepherdsville, you're next in line. And just south of you folks, we have the tornado warnings. And that's because it's a little more ragged, jagged, whatever you want to call it. But we do have some pockets of wind showing up within this part of the system that could rotate. And that's the reason for those tornado warnings to come out. At this point, no damage has been reported, but the warnings are there. And when we look inside those storms, again, with the velocity, we can do that a number of ways. I just like to put it full screen. There you can see a pocket of heavy wind approaching the Radcliffe area. Now, as we get a little closer to the radar, it's tough, but this is in a good view of the radar because it's just south of the radar beam. So we're at a good level. That shows where we do have some wind moving past Radcliffe right on 31W. We also have some wind moving into parts of western Hardin County that's going to approach the Elizabethtown area. All of you, Radcliffe and E-Town residents, are under a tornado warning. You should be in your tornado safe place. Play it safe, get down low, get to the lowest level away from windows as these storms move in. Lots of lightning, wind in the metro. We see it from our storm tracker. We see it from our SkyTrack camera. Ryan, when we look at some of the rain totals, those have been impressive, but nothing we can't handle. When it comes to hail reports over the last few minutes, we haven't had a whole lot of those either.
No, you know, this is quickly evolving into more of a wind and possibly a tornado situation. The rainfall rates here in Louisville are impressive, but so far, and these are updated, I should say, every 5 minutes from MSD here, we've picked up about just over a half of an inch of the gauge in Prospect. It is possible we've had a little bit more just outside of that gauged area there. You'll notice about a quarter, third of an inch here in the city so far, and I do want to expand it out just a little bit more so that you can see that we can serve our viewers, of course, in Kentucky and southern Indiana. Almost an inch of rain from the Kentucky Mesonet site there in Hardinsburg here, and that's the last 24 hours. So a lot of rain, but this is not the flooding rains. And thankfully, we've had just enough spacing between these heavier rain events, Kevin, that the soils have been able to kind of take this, soak it in, and be okay for the next round of rain here. So no flash flooding, no flash flood warnings. Even though we've had kind of a wet winter, it's been just so for us, and hopefully it'll mean a pretty spring around here with the flowers.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out. We do see one main concern on the radar, and that's moving across Hardin County. You can see that wind. Anytime we have reds and greens that are bright next to one another, right next and bright next, that is a sign of rotation because the green winds toward the radar, red winds away. That shows signs of rotation. That would be right over Radcliffe. This would be an area of concern. So what happens is we look at that and we say, all right, well, let's now look at our debris filter on the radar to see if anything stands out. Obviously, the more likely the debris, we start to get into the bluer colors. This is where we saw that possible rotation on the velocity, but we see no blues in there. That just means the radar's not picking up anything abnormal at this time, so that's good news, and that's what we would just watch. So it's a constant back and forth, back and forth. Let's see if we have any type of hail. We look at the reflectivity. There are no bright colors showing up inside of that. I can put on our hail scope as we look inside that storm. So let's just take a closer view of that and see if we have any hail with what's going on across parts of Hardin County. And I'm just scanning that. I see no hail in that at all, so that's good news. The hail potential is down. It's a wind maker and a potential tornado maker that's moving just past Radcliffe. This is 31W coming right down into E-Town from Muldrow, West Point, Radcliffe. That's where you're going to find the greatest circulation at this point. That tornado warning will go for another what is that, 11 minutes we have on the no, another 26 minutes, so right up to the bottom of the hour. Ryan?
Hey, we're getting a lot of reports on our Facebook page of some tornado siren issues in Hardin County from both Radcliffe and E-Town, that the sirens went off for like a minute, they went back off, and they're done for now. No, you need to make sure you're not depending on tornado sirens to get your warnings. You folks down there still under a tornado warning at this time. You need to depend on the Wave Weather app, NOAA Weather Radio, and of course our broadcast here, Kev.
And you know, coming into Hardin County is that storm that moved out of the Custer area. We have 160 customers without power there. So this storm is causing problems. May not be a tornado on the ground. Could be. Can't see at night. Doesn't matter. Fact is, the radar shows the intense wind that is moving in your direction. So yes, Radcliffe, E-Town, you need to be in your tornado safe place. Let's go back to our street level mapping. I'll zoom in. I'll do it with the velocity. It's easier to see sort of the target zone with that, and then we'll zoom in again. Here we are. And let's just zoom in, almost about ready to push out. So we'll see if this gets extended. If this tornado warning gets extended, we're talking about southern parts of Bullitt County and western parts of Nelson County that could be under that tornado warning. So be on standby. Boston. All right. We're looking at Radcliffe, Longview. This is going to be pushing right along 434. So as we move on toward 313, that's not far from Longview, crossing over 31W. South route, and then you can see the new warning coming out. It's a severe thunderstorm warning. So we've blanketed a number of counties with a severe thunderstorm warning. This is going to be a fairly large warning. You can see one corner of it here, all the way back to Litchfield. We'll take it all the way up into southern parts of Bullitt County, bring it back over. So that includes far western Nelson County. So a good chunk of that area is now under a severe thunderstorm warning, and embedded within that big broad area are the 2 tornado warnings that we currently have. Again, both tornado warnings are radar indicated at this time. Ryan, anything new?
Yeah, at this point, nothing new from the report standpoint here. We just heard the rain started to, just cut off here at the station, and that's because the storms have now moved south and east into sort of the center part of Jefferson County here. We continue to watch some very heavy rain in Okolona at this time. Again, we have almost 1 million people still under this just one severe thunderstorm warning that encompasses Louisville and parts of Bullitt County. So we're still looking out for you folks here in the Louisville area. Nothing concerning on the radar when it comes to any sort of rotation in this storm at this time. Thankfully on that, this is just kind of a heavy rain, sort of keep you up all night sort of lightning maker too, with lots of thunder as this thing is moving through Shepherdsville. You guys are getting ready to get hit down there. I do want to show our SkyTrack camera down in E-Town here, if I can get that up for you real quick here to kind of see what the situation is down that way with some very heavy rain. There's the SkyTrack camera in Louisville. Here comes E-Town. It is coming onto the screen as we speak here. We're moving at the speed of computers, and it should be popping right up at any second. There's a flash of lightning there in Louisville as this continues to come up. Maybe it'll come up at any point here. Let's see. There it goes. That should be it. We've got lots of different sources that we can take live here, and you can see the streets are wet, kind of the calm here before things really start to fly off the wheels here when it comes to the look of how this is going to look here with our storms moving into central Hardin County at this time. And again, you folks in the E-Town area, you technically, E-Town proper here, at least part of it under that tornado warning here. So you want to make sure that you are in a safe place away from doors and windows. Also want to show our big board. The big board shows us sort of a list of these warnings. I know the maps can kind of get overwhelming, especially when we've done several hours of coverage, worth of coverage today here. So this is a list, all right? And you'll notice we've got 2 tornado warnings, 2 severe thunderstorm warnings, and of course the longest of those warnings, Hardin, Bullitt, Grayson, Hardin again, and then Nelson there for the tornado warning and the severe thunderstorm warning that you see there, the 2 listed at the top of your screen. Those are going to be the warnings that we're going to stay with here for quite some time here till about 12:30 in the morning. And I also want to say to our folks up in northern reaches of our counties here that Orange, Jackson and Jennings counties have been pulled from the tornado watch. Your severe weather is over. For the rest of us, we still have to deal with this. And of course, technically, I think we're going to be in this till about 3 a.m. here with any sort of severe risk as this continues to march down toward our southern Kentucky communities. You guys are up next to see this, Kevin.
Well, we're getting reports out of Crawford County, Indiana. That's this community right here. And this isn't too far from where the storm tracker was, but we have a number of power poles, telephone poles that have been down along U.S. or State Road 66 over in Crawford County. So I'm going to stop the radar view. The severe threat timing we talked about moving through, and it's pretty much on target for what we had expected. And so we've been noting that the storms moving through would do so. We've had the hail reports that we pointed out, and most of those have been small and tolerable on the hail reports. We've had no major reports of damage at this point, though we have seen some wind damage off to our south near the Hardinsburg area. That's where the first tornado warning came out, and now we're tracking that across parts of Hardin County. Let me go back into our radar view, and with that, I'm going to point out a couple of things for you. We have the tornado warning, but just south of that, we have some pretty powerful winds. So let me get that centered up. Obviously, once that comes to an end, I keep hitting the wrong button here. Let me go back to the radar and then back to the now button, and let's zoom in. to the tornado warning. And this is where we'll go a little closer, and I'll pull it back because really it's along this area too, which is why the severe thunderstorm warning is out. I'll pan this back, get it situated up for us, and we'll be able to check the wind inside of this. So Irvington, it's past you. Vertrees, it's past you. Radcliffe, it's past you. The tornado warning, it's pretty much over at this point. That will be allowed to expire coming up because the severe thunderstorm warning is taking over. Let's go and look at the velocity on this, and I'm looking at a number of things on the iPad that I have in front of me, but some very strong winds approaching the Glendale area. So E-Town down to Glendale and Sonora, that's another zone I want to focus on. I know you're in and I say you're in the severe thunderstorm warning, but the potential for the strong wind, especially in this area approaching Glendale, see how it's bulging out? That's like that backward C we talk about. That's a push of wind that's moving into Glendale. We're very close to I-65. So anywhere from E-Town down to Glendale, Sonora, a push of wind coming in. We also have a push of wind just north of that. It's a little more broad. That's also approaching I-65 as that moves through. So the wind shift line approaching Hodgenville, your winds are picking up. Eventually the storms pick up with the wind and the rain. Let's go over to Ryan Hope.
Yeah, at this time here, we're looking at the reports coming in. And of course, you indicated earlier about the telephone poles down on State Road 66 in Crawford County. Our newsroom is making calls about that at this time to see what has gone on out there. We do have that 36-mile-per-hour gust there from our friend Mark Jarvis down there near Vine Grove. So thankfully, nothing severe down that way. This is kind of turning into this big line of windy, loud thunderstorms. This is kind of getting to the part of the night where we're starting to evolve not only from the hail threat to a wind threat, but from a tornado threat to sort of a wind and lightning and heavy rain threat around here. So we're starting to see these threats kind of peel back a bit, but we're not done with this yet. So don't let your guard down. The Wave Weather Now live stream and the Wave Weather app's a fantastic way to stay connected with this. We have live updates there. We're streaming live on it right now. I've got it off to my left here. And of course, for folks who are without power, you may not have a TV you can power on, your phone, your iPad, your Android device. This is going to be a very capable way of keeping you informed overnight tonight with the Wave Weather app, Kevin.
All right, we have crews that are out and about also looking for any type of damage. Our news department keeping up with damage by calling some of the emergency response centers, the 911 operators, folks that are helping other folks at this hour. We've had no major reports of damage. We're checking on the Crawford County power lines down. That came in from law enforcement, so that was from Crawford County. Power poles down State Road 66 over in Crawford County. A few hail reports coming in. Outside of that, when we look at the radar view, the only warnings that we currently have, severe thunderstorm warnings from Louisville all the way down to the southern parts of Hardin County. We do have one tornado warning that continues until the bottom of the hour, but for all intents and purposes, that will be allowed to be canceled because the rotating part of that storm and the wind of that storm is now out of that polygon. So that will be allowed to expire just a little bit early. I'm going to pan the radar over, and as we move that radar, you're going to be able to see as I plot the wind on here. Anywhere between E-Town all the way down toward that Western Kentucky Parkway, Cecilia area is where we have some of the stronger winds. Pockets of wind to the north. These brighter returns showing some of that strong wind, or at least a push of wind close to I-65. Our wind gust here in Louisville making it to 33 miles an hour, but just across the river over at Clark County, we had upwards of 46-mile-per-hour winds. So we have had some strong winds. Nothing too abnormal, both on the wind or the hail side. The rain is moving through fast, so we don't have to worry about flooding. All in all, we haven't had a whole lot of issues, which is good news, but it's certainly waking a lot of people up. The weather alerts are going off. We do have severe weather underway. And the good news is it should continue as time goes on, weaken. If you were watching this week, we said we had 2 rounds of severe weather, one in the afternoon, one in the overnight. This is the second and final round of severe weather. It's moving through. See the latest radar update? Showing the strongest winds right over I-65 across Hardin County at this point. And that's where we'll continue to track that as it moves in eventually to LaRue County. Not right now. You're not under a severe thunderstorm warning right now. We'll see if that gets extended. We have seen some trends that are weakening the winds, the hail, the tornado threat. That was expected as we continue through the overnight hours. Ryan, what do you have?
I wanted to point out real quick one of these trends here, and it looks like the outflow, the cold outflow winds to undercut these storms where they could be severe here. So basically, you see where we've got from Hodgenville down toward Hammondville, you've got some of these bright reds on the radar. Well, if we look where the wind shift is on that, oh, it's in front of that. So we're starting to see that happen. We've got a new severe thunderstorm warning, Kevin.
Yep.
Looks like it's just coming out.
Let's get to that. And we also have reports coming in from Breckenridge County near Custer. Lines are down there, and we have about 400 customers without power in Breckenridge County. So storm reports coming in now. Power is out in places. New warning being extended out ahead of this line. So sirens sounding now, or alerts going off now. Maybe not sirens because it's a severe thunderstorm, but your weather radio is going off. Bullitt, Hardin, LaRue, and Nelson counties in the path of that storm. Let me center that up. Again, it's the same drill that we've been seeing. This is south of Louisville. This is the same wind maker that we've been noting for the last hour or so, moving across Hardin County. And now that is passing through E-Town, eventually moving into LaRue County, close to Hodgenville, Boston, Kentucky, and eventually Bardstown. So you're going to get in on the wind maker with this. Already seeing some thunder and lightning in Bardstown, but the heaviest wind sits just back to your west. This will push through. Again, it's important for me to stress that we haven't had a whole lot of damage coming out of any of these storms tonight, but we have had some, and it's enough to cause some power outages. We have that in Breckenridge County. We know we have some out in parts of Meade County. We go back into Crawford County where power poles are down, and even parts of Orange County, which was under a tornado warning earlier. So these storms have had a history of at least producing some damage. Not widespread damage, but some. It's enough to knock out some power for sure. So be mindful of that as these storms move through. You should be taking shelter away from windows. The windows, lots of lightning, I know, the thunder, the heavy rain waking you up, but just know that once this passes, the threat of severe weather will come to an end. And that's happening across parts of the metro right now. When we look inside and to the north, let me go back to our home view. You'll know in Louisville, well, can't see it because of the box, so let me go back and I'll move this out of the way. Here in Louisville, the western half of Jefferson County in the clear. Eastern Jefferson County still seeing the heavy rain and possibly wind. The severe thunderstorm warnings just to our south include southern parts of Shelby County, all of Nelson County, the western half or the eastern half of Bullitt County, a good chunk of Hardin County still under that severe thunderstorm warning. That warning will go until 12:45 tonight, so we still have another half hour on that severe thunderstorm warning. We're staying with you tonight during the overnight hours. A lot of people getting up, wanting to know what's happening. We've promised all along the way we'd keep you ahead of these storms. We've had the alert day in place today to say, hey, you're going to have to pay attention to rounds of storms, one in the afternoon, one in the overnight. Both have that potential. We certainly saw it this afternoon with the thunderstorms touching down with tornado warnings and tornadoes across parts of Indiana and Kentucky. Left behind damage in Milton, Kentucky and Hanover, Indiana. Tonight, we haven't had as much damage, but again, it's at night. And it's hard to get those reports during the nighttime simply because so many people are asleep. Ryan, I see you on the phone. What's the latest report?
Yeah, I just got off the phone with Breckenridge County, and they say just one pole down. That's going to be at 86 in Custer, and that's it. They've had several power outages, but in terms of like what is actually damage of that, just one pole at this time, Kev.
All right, not bad. We look at the radar view. That is the loop over the last few hours. You can see the storms moving in, converging together. A heavy rainmaker will ensue, but it moves through fairly fast, so we don't have to worry about a whole lot of flooding. Once the back edge passes, you're going to see the tornado watch trimmed out. So Louisville, it's almost bedtime for you. We have our wind gust, latest in Louisville, at 25 miles an hour. Some hail reports have been noted. This is the tornado from earlier this afternoon. Wind from just about 45 minutes ago. We have had hail reports in a number of places, especially the small hail reports. And when we look at some of the wind damage, most of what we've seen have been these little trash cans or twigs. So not a whole lot in the way of greater wind damage, meaning snapped trees or uprooted trees. We haven't had any of that just yet. And let's hope that doesn't happen. We should be in the weakening trend at this point. We'll zoom the radar back out here, and you'll notice as these storms continue to press through, they are showing some signs of weakening. I'll point out the lightning on this. We've been keeping it on the lightning tonight. Finally, that count is coming down. We were closer to 300 about, 25, 30 minutes ago. Now we're down to 200. So another sign that these storms are showing signs of weakening across the area. When we look back to the radar, you're going to see that the bulk of the storms are weakening on that forward side. So they're coalescing, colliding with one another, and as it moves through, will continue to weaken. This is expected because of the time of night. We are losing some energy thanks to the sunset earlier this evening. That typically takes several hours, so it's not like right at dark we lose all of the energy, but by midnight, 1, 2 in the morning, that energy level goes down. We may pick up some wind energy. Sometimes that combats against it, which is why we still have some of the stronger storms around. Ryan, what do you have?
So I've been sampling some of the winds here on the radar view, and what we are seeing right now with the current radar scan is all sub-severe winds aloft with these storms. The highest I have here is a 56 mile per hour sample in southeast parts of Spencer County here, 47 miles per hour southwest Spencer, and then a 50 mile per hour sample here a little closer to Boston, 51 miles per hour just south of the Boston area. So we have to use the radar to kind of sample where the winds are the highest. And when we start to get above that 58 mile per hour threshold there, that's when the Weather Service triggers those severe thunderstorm warnings. We're starting to even lose that kind of criteria here, Kevin. So all of this is kind of coalescing, as you've been talking about, into this main line that's just going to very quickly, it's been accelerating, move down into southern Kentucky here. Check the time, it's 12:21. It may take only about another hour or two to get these storms out of our counties down to our south, the way things are trending right now. We also just heard from Crawford County Dispatch as we live and breathe, poles and lines down State Road 66, according to them at this point.
Yeah, and that's the same report that we had, so we know we have some power outages. Crawford County, Orange County, down into Breckenridge County, Meade County, probably have a few in Hardin County based on some of those wind velocities we were looking at on the radar. But the trend is to weaken this, and that's the good news. Now, will it weaken by the time it gets into Washington, Marion, Greene, Taylor? We can't say that for certain because still have some strong winds. But once it passes those areas and gets over to the I-75 corridor, I can assure you this will be weakening in a big fashion. That leaves behind some rain and then some calmer weather. Tomorrow we wind up with the rain chance early, a few showers possible in the afternoon. But all in all, we go into the weekend with a drier picture and one that is a little cooler. In fact, much cooler by early next week. So as this front moves through tonight, we've had the wind, we've had the rain, the hail, and the lightning associated with this, continuing to push that off to the east. I'm going to pan this over. It's always good just to have this to my side here as we look at the latest warnings that will go for another 22 minutes technically. Severe thunderstorm warnings that include parts of Bullitt County, down into Shelby County, Nelson County, eastern parts of Hardin County and LaRue County. You're under those warnings as we roll on through the next 20 minutes or so. The wave storm trackers here in the metro area, most of the storms are moving past the Louisville area. We've had only damage in the last few hours close to where the storm tracker was earlier. That's out towards State Road 66. Current temperature in Louisville is coming down from our record high that we had yesterday. We tied at 82 degrees. Ryan, that number's been dropping over the last few minutes.
And we do expect that number to continue to drop as we head through tomorrow, by the way. We've got this cold front moving through. Right now, the storm tracker is located pretty close to downtown Louisville. We've pretty much given it the all clear to come back to the station here as we wrap things up here shortly. 56 degrees on that sensor on the top of the vehicle there at this point. As we continue to watch these storms very, very quickly now exit the metro area. We're going to be left with some light rains here for the next probably hour or so here in the city, and then additional showers are going to develop here on our Friday. So we're not completely done with the rain yet after tonight. Still got another day of some of these showers to deal with before a drier weekend, Kev.
All right, hopefully in the next 6 minutes here, things will ease up. We'll get you back to the late night programming. We'll be here all night in case we have to bump back on, but our plan will be to go back to programming as these storms work their way through the area and continue to weaken. So that's the good news. While they still remain potential for severe limits, most of those are below severe limits, and we'll get you back to the nighttime programming at 12:30. So we've got 6 more minutes to work with you here, and we'll just keep an eye on the trends. I suspect that there's no reason we'll see an uptick in any of this. The only thing that could happen would be see a collision, but most of that has already occurred, and the reason that would be important is because when lines of storms collide, it can create some rotation. So we want to make sure that we've sort of alleviated alleviated that, and then we will be able to get you back. So this would be one forward line. We'll let this sort of coalesce together, and then back down to the south. You can see it's just a heavy rainmaker down there. No severe weather south of Litchfield toward Bowling Green. But we do have the severe thunderstorm warning across a good chunk, if not all, of Nelson County. Our SkyTrack camera down in Bardstown is likely showing some of that rain and wind moving through. I'll ask Ryan to cue that up, and we'll check that site coming up. And while he's doing that, I'm going to look at the velocity, and we'll zoom just a little bit farther to the south. There's our Bardstown camera. And as we look a little bit further south, here's Bardstown. We're looking at the downtown square there. Not even a whole lot of wind right now, so we don't even notice that in the forward trees. And the camera's on because I can see some of the lights moving there. So we do have rain that's pushing through Nelson County, and you see the storm tracker seeing rain still even here in the Louisville area. But the big pockets of wind that we were watching sort of broadening out, so there's not one tight area of where we would be of concern. This is now a broader area of wind that's moving from Boston into Bardstown. But when we look at it with the ground truth, we say, well, there's not even a lot happening there. So the general idea is just what we've been saying. It's easing up. That's good news. I'm going to take the velocity and sort of pan down just a bit as we move past Hardin County over into LaRue County, Hodgenville. Same story. Remember when we were tracking those 2 tornado warnings, we had a tight, what we would call couplet on the radar. That's no longer there. We see a much broader area of wind. So as this broadens out, while we still have pockets of wind, maybe just north of Magnolia, just south of Hodgenville, not far from 31E. We'll continue to track that as it moves into parts of perhaps northern Greene County, over into Marion County. But the basic point of this is the winds are broadening out, and that's good news. Ryan?
Yeah, and we do have a bunch of reports of just very, very minor wind damage from MPing here, and that's the citizen reports that you can make on the MPing app or through an app like Radar Scope here, and we can show these on TV here. I think we're the only station still that can do this here, and you'll notice that these are all sort of like that base trash can and twig sort of report, scattering of them in southern Jefferson County up toward Floyd, Harrison, Orange, down toward Hardin County. This can be the canary in the coal mine. We've often seen these reports light up with some of these red or purple reports, and then we get confirmation later of what actually happened here. So to not see anything past sort of that baseline, trash cans being moved around and twigs being broken off, that's a very good sign, Kevin, and I think we're in pretty good shape here when it comes to our wind damage threat, at least at the current moment, but we'll continue to watch it overnight.
I think we've really lucked out on this. When you start seeing some of the reports coming in from northern Indiana over into parts of Ohio where they've had casualties out of these storms today. While we had a pretty massive storm this afternoon that did put down a tornado, caused damage in Milton, Kentucky, Hanover. We've had no reports of fatalities.
Severe thunderstorm warning coming out. This is going to be Greene and LaRue, by the way.
So this is the same that we've been dealing with along that line to our south. We said that it would likely get extended with that severe thunderstorm warning. Still no tornado warning with that. In fact, this is for Barron, Edmondson, Greene, and Hart counties. That's just a little bit further to the south of the one that we were watching as that extends back across Hart County, including the Munfordville area. So that's one wave. Back to the velocity, you can see those broader winds across the LaRue County area. I was pointing out that while we had some damage earlier this afternoon, it's been nothing like what some folks to our north have endured across Indiana or Ohio. So more on that in the hours to come overnight tonight, early tomorrow morning. Let me go back to our home view. I'm going to put the radar back on as opposed to the velocity. We look at the storm. You can see the heavy rain, and now the southern edge of this being warned for that wind potential. What happens with this is typically the southerly winds that are coming into this line. Our winds are out of the west now, so coming in from the west, we have southerly winds out ahead of that. It's the southern edge that typically takes on the most energy or power, so oftentimes we'd see that area strengthen just a bit as the others begin to weaken. So that's not uncharacteristic for the warning to be issued down that way. But again, another hour and it should be already through the viewing area, and we'll get a better night's rest. We're coming up on 12:30. Again, with severe thunderstorm warnings that are in place, we'll be able to update that with you throughout the night, but we won't stay on nonstop. So at this point, we're going to start to wind down our coverage. Ryan, any new information you have? I see we have the Trimark cameras in Louisville up, wet roads. That will be ending soon down in Bardstown. Severe thunderstorm warning, but the wind's hardly even blowing there.
Yeah, actually, literally just in from our friend Shane Hollandy there. Shelby County Mesonet site, 51 mile per hour gust there. That's been our peak gust at that. And then Fort Knox had about a 55 mile per hour wind gust. E-Town Regional Airport about 41, and then 47 at Hardin County's Mesonet site. So all of that is sub-severe, not that 58 mile per hour threshold there. So that's some good news for us to kind of kick things off the air here as we go throughout the next moment or so.
All right, get some rest. If you're in Indiana, you are in the clear. Louisville, you are in the clear. Meade County, Breckenridge County, Hardin County, Bullitt County, all in the clear. Litchfield and Grayson County in the clear. Out ahead of this line where we still have the severe thunderstorm warning. We will continue to watch it, though we are below severe limits, as Ryan's pointed out. We'll watch these storms to our south. We'll jump back in with updates throughout the night as needed. But for now, I think it's safe to say that most of you will rest a little easier knowing that these storms are passing by as they continue to weaken in most cases. We'll be back on as necessary. But for now, for Ryan Hoke and all of us here at WAVE, we appreciate you tuning in to our severe weather coverage. We'll be on as necessary overnight tonight.